We're J&J. He's Justin.
I forgot who he is. Nope, that's Jared.
Yep. I was going to go with a nickname, but we are two leash dads that get together to discuss our everyday dad life while chained to our daily responsibilities. And it's been 3 years for me and you, like 9 months taking care of infants. Because we all have to do it if we're parents. Unless you adopt at like 7 or 8 years old or anywhere after 2.
Yeah. I mean, that's a possibility. A strong possibility. I mean, I don't know necessarily... I don't know anybody in particular that has done that.
I don't think so. I know.
Nope.
I've heard stories, but I don't know personally anybody who's done that.
Not even stories. I couldn't even tell you any stories. The only type of stories I hear are from... Yes?
Oh, well, put a pin in your story. I do know somebody whose brother or brother-in-law passed away with his wife on some sort of freak accident, and he was the godparent, so he took in the kids, and they were like 5 or 6.
But that's not an infant.
No? What's your stories?
Nope.
Nope.
I don't have any infant stories, but that's all right. Now, as Jared mentioned, we are here to talk about infants today. I feel like this is going to be a small episode. Get it?
I got it. But I got excited because I've been up since 5:30, so...
There is no laugh in this man, apparently, so tonight's jokes are going to be rough. Anywho, so,
well, I'm
infants.
laughing now. You just got to tell the right jokes. MF.
Oh, jeez, that's going to be hard. Anywho, let's talk before we talk about infants, I want to start with some weekly updates here. Because I think we need some weekly updates, see what's going on. Sorry, I don't know why I'm doing this voice, but we're going to stick with it for a little bit. Just kidding. All right, so some weekly updates. Well, earlier today, I guess I'll just start with earlier today, I had a skip meeting, which is very interesting. So it was actually talking with my senior manager. Really, we just kind of talked about some things, about how the team was going. And it's really, you can talk about whatever you want. So basically, he's just like, okay, what do you kind of want to do for some development, or what are you currently doing? Because I know you want to move up in the company and whatnot. But then we also just talked about some other things too. So that went well. Not like it was a big thing, but it was different. It was the first time I really had something called a skip meeting, where when I have talked to upper management before, it's not to this leisure. It's more kind of work related, or something to do with possible positions being opened, whatnot. If you listen to previous episodes and heard me bitch about it, you will know what I'm talking about. Anywho, so had some baby concerns, as you know, where my wife has returned to work. So it was kind of the adjustment period. Well, needless to say, I think those baby concerns and adjustments are fairly resolved.
Good.
Eleanor has been doing really, really well, which is weird, because when I dropped her off on Monday at her babysitter or daycare provider, or at home daycare, this is kind of well, I'll get to that in a moment. But she's been doing really well with adjustments. And with that being said, with Sam returning to work, my money maker status has been revoked. It's just like my man card. I no longer have it. So that's my week in a nutshell. Oh, besides Father's Day, but that was it started off pretty well. Baby girl was doing well. The kids were just, kids. Went over to my parents' house for basically a cookout, and we experimented with some Coke and Mentos because the kids got some Coke and Mentos for like Christmas, and we finally opened those up and watched them go. Good times. And yeah, well, we'll get to that later in a moment here. So that's my week. Jared, go. I'm kidding, but go on.
All right, I'm going. So I don't know. It's been busy again. No rest for the wicked, I guess.
You're wicked.
Very busy weekend. Ended up going to the zoo. That did take place. My parents didn't go, so it was just the girls and me. And it was okay. There was a lot of exhibits that were closed and animals that weren't there, which was kind of disappointing. But
That's weird.
yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know really what to expect. I haven't been there in so many years, but took the long way home so the kids could take a nap in the car, and came home, kind of just chilled, and started a bonfire. Kids made s'mores. The fire was a bit of a challenge because I didn't have any kindling. I only had big logs, but with enough lighter fluid and blowtorch, by God, I got it working.
God.
You can start anything on fire with lighter fluid and blowtorch.
Yeah, but you have to live with the fluid flavor, smell or whatever for a bit.
Well,
For a bit.
it mostly
does go
burned
away.
off at that point, but yeah.
It goes away
And
after
I
a
wasn't
while.
eating the marshmallow. Well, I was eating the marshmallows later, but not as it was starting to get going. But
Gotcha.
towards the end, I was able to get a good roaring fire going, so it was good.
Roar.
Spent Father's Day at my dad's in the pool afternoon. Late start to the morning, so I don't know. Because we stayed up at the bonfire. Natalie and I stayed up probably until like midnight.
Oh my God, that's late.
It is late because we got up I think at like 7. So, but whatever. It was fun. It was a good weekend, but no rest. So Monday was just total hell for me and Natalie. Just trying to get through work, not looking at the clock.
Hey, did you have... No, okay, you just answered that question. I was going to say, did you have off?
No,
Okay.
I should have. I instantly knew I regretted it at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. I was like, damn it.
No. Well,
This is gonna suck.
yeah, yeah, well. No political here, but that's okay. I was just curious.
Oop, I keep
Yeah, way to
knocking
go.
the mic down.
Way to go.
But good meal, good talks so far, and just I don't know. I was in New Berlin today.
Sounds like fun.
It's hot down there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like to
Still
hear
have
that
not
when you're...
recovered from this weekend, but maybe I will eventually. I don't know.
Do you know why you haven't recovered yet? Because you're old.
Yeah.
Old fart.
Well, I didn't even drink that much. It was just lack of sleep and lack of
See?
rest. I don't know.
You're old. You need your sleep. You're probably maybe a tad bit dehydrated because of the heat. I mean, granted,
Oh
it was...
yes.
Yeah.
And the sun really gets at you.
Yes, it does. I've been there, done that. Probably that's a couple of reasons why I felt like crap recently. But pulled through it eventually after the body had a chance to recover. So yeah. But you know what we can do? We can just drink water like good people. Stay hydrated. Now that yes, this is orange flavored water, but it's still water.
This is grapefruit flavored water.
Sparkling water, ew. I've just never been a fan of like that sparkling water. I don't know. Call me crazy, call me stupid, but yeah. Oh well.
Spindrift is different. It's got like real fruit juice in it.
I don't know. It's like the sparkling water I've tried, LaCroix.
That's not real fruit juice.
Well, it turned me off from sparkling water. I tried Bubbler. My son Kane
Bubbler's not bad.
got into the Bubbler side of things. It's just not good. To me, again, it's just the sparkling water aspect. That's all it is. You could throw any flavor into it. Nope, turns me away. But I gave it a shot. I gave it another chance. Proud daddy moments, yeah. You ready for some proud daddy moments? Hey. Proud daddy moments here. So this weekend, I know I didn't bring it up in the weekly updates, but Kane had a wrestling tournament and he got his first pin. Throughout his entire wrestling career so far, he finally got his first pin. Oh my gosh, I feel... besides the fact that I'm extremely proud of him for doing it, I don't know if I would call this over celebrated, but when he got it, I went, yes! Out loud. I feel like it's good to be excited. It almost just felt like it was inappropriate for the idea of sportsmanship. But I mean, we do it in all different. We do it on all types of sports, right? You know, something goes well, you get really excited, you say things. It's a one-on-one kind of thing, right? And the sports can be very emotional. Kane was very proud of himself, of course. He when he got the pin, he jumped up and said, "Yes!" Like this. I'm like, I get awesome. It though. It was a great feeling. So, when we were at my parents' house as well, so back on Father's Day, and enjoying the cookout and whatnot, for those of you who listen and know my parents' layout, they have a nice big backyard. They're kind of actually behind or in front of farmer's land, but there's like a nice divider of, I won't call it a woods because it's not really a woods, but yet it's like woods-like because it's got a lot of trees in there.
I don't know how you describe that.
I'll call it's a small type of woods, all right, where you can adventure. It's just kind of like a nice little divider. But anyways, so they have that set up, and when I was young, I used to build forts back there in the tree area. I'll call it a tree line. So I used to build like a small fort with friends in the tree line, and I told my kids about that while we were over at my my parents' house one time, and now it's a nice time in the year. They go out there, and they started building a fort. They started building a fort in a tree. And they're like, "Dad, we're building a fort just like you." There's one thing I'm not going to tell them because they don't need to start trying to do that either. Now, the funny thing is,
what?
I'm not going to say it on here in case they ever do decide to listen. It doesn't need to be a good idea. It was not a good idea when I was younger, and it's not a good idea at all. Not in that tree line. But they just wanted to be like me, and it's great, knowing that they're outside and everything, and want to build, be adventurous in that regards. Yeah. So those are my couple of proud moments where Kane got his first pin in wrestling, and the kids are want to be like me, build forts in their grandparents' backyard. So, what about you? Any proud moments for you this week?
Nothing huge, a little bit small. It's the little things that count. Eleanor she got a big bike for her birthday. It's got training wheels, obviously, but she's getting a lot more comfortable riding it to the point where on walks, Natalie and I can't just walk anymore because she's on her bike, and she's just hauling ass down the sidewalk, and so we either have to run. No, we just have to run. Like, there's no whatever. So I just said, screw it. And last night I got my bike and followed along with her, and we were cruising pretty damn good. So
nice.
Very proud of her for picking that up so quickly and being a lot more comfortable with stopping, going faster, and turning as well. She's had some issue previously where she turns too sharply. You can't lean with training wheels.
Yep.
So
yeah,
I'm proud of her.
Pretty much I think Kane actually skipped the training wheel phase of his bike.
Okay, that helps.
It's just one of those things where he was on a bike with training wheels, uh, but he kept falling over, and I think it's because he was a little too big. So
Mm.
we took the training wheels off, and all of a sudden he's going. It's like, oh, the training wheels were hindering you for some odd reason. But well, eventually my other kids will get there. We don't necessarily force them to ride bikes or anything like that. I do think it's a good thing for them to try and do. They do like to ride
Yeah.
tricycles. Nico is one of those kids that likes to sit on the tricycle, but he doesn't put his feet on the pedals. He just likes to use it like a little scooter. So he goes like this. Here's Nico, right? Do do do. Here's the tricycle. He'll just scoot
Yep.
his feet, right? It's just funny to
Cora
watch.
does the same thing.
Yeah. So, and Arlo just kind of, yeah, Arlo knows how to ride the tricycle, but now we just got to get him onto a actual bicycle with training wheels. So, all things to come. Not too worried about it, but Kane is starting to again ride his bike with trying to do no hands and everything. So, the
Yeah.
joys of older children. All right. So, uh, if you guys have any daddy moments or proud moments, I should say, feel free to reach out to us. Facebook, email, whatever you're most comfortable sending us. Let's get down to it, Jared, shall we? Let's talk. Let's go back. We're gonna have to go back quite a few. Me a little less. Mine's more recent, of course. Jared, not so recent here. But let's talk about the main thing tonight: infants. The little ones that we love so dear, where we nurture them, nourish them, do everything we can in our power to keep them safe. So, um, the thing here, right, with the infants, I briefly want to kind of cover here. What are some things you should watch out for within, even or just keep in mind when you're working with them or taking care of them. Some what to watch out for when it comes to health, and making sure that you get the proper care at the proper time, right? Uh,
Right.
yeah, I got small things, but these are very critical. Kind of like bowel movements. All right, all my kids when they not all my kids, but the three little ones, Arlo, Nico, and Eleonora, they all had some type of jaundice. They were all jaundice in birth. Um, Arlo and Nico did have the bilirubin blankets or lights to help remove all the bilirubin from them and get them to normal. Eleonora, thankfully, she had gotten through it on her own. No light required, which is a good thing. But the one thing you can do to help with jaundice is really just keep them feeding and pooping. Um, as it's not fun having the bilirubin light. Um, I mean, it's a good thing for them, but when all of a sudden their levels are spiking, you have to take them to doctors on a constant basis. Kind of like we did do this with Allie, only due to the fact that there were concerns, but her levels had actually just ended up plateauing, and then the doctor's like, you don't need to bring her in anymore. She'll be fine.
Oh, well, that's good.
So they look at it on like an hourly basis though too, or like every so many hours that have passed from their birth. If it keeps going up, then they would be more concerned and talk about the lights. But after a while, after maybe I don't remember how many hours it was, but it was definitely after so many hours, they're like, "Yep, she's good. Her levels haven't skyrocketed anymore, so she'll be okay. I'm not too concerned anymore." Um, for those of you who don't know what jaundice is really just a pigmented or like a yellow skin. It can be very detrimental to the health because it's part of the fact that
Liver.
the liver isn't actually doing its job properly or not being able to get through its job. So that's why I say when the infants are infants and your feet, want to feed them what they need to feed on and get them pooping and whatnot, so they can get all the bilirubin out and get their liver going and processing the way it needs to process. Otherwise, lights will help out. We were actually at one point with our, I think it was Arlo, or I can't remember though. It was Arlo or Nico, one of those two, where they actually were talking about doing a blood transfusion.
Wow, so it was bad.
It was getting really bad, and the light wasn't necessarily helping either.
Yeesh.
It was very concerning at one point. Sam had texted me while she was in the hospital with them, and I got that message. I'm like, oh, Jesus. That's not looking good. It brought fear into my eyes. It brought fear into, my heart sank a little bit. I got really concerned. Just very, it wasn't a very good state of mind at that point.
No.
But we ended up getting through it. They didn't need the transfusion because things went well, or the light started helping them out. So it was just nice at that point, and very relieving knowing that there was no need for like a transfusion anymore.
Right.
That just would have been scary to know that an infant was going through that.
Terrifying.
Yeah. So jaundice, I would say, definitely be on the eye for, especially when they're very, very little. Like first 36 hours is very critical at that point, or 48 hours even. That's a big thing to look out for and keep your eyes on. And if you are expecting as well, and your other children previously experienced it, I would bring it up to your provider, so they know from history. I mean, they may know already, but I would still bring it up to them so they can have that in the back of their mind, knowing that this is still a likely outcome.
Right.
Well, I say likely, but I don't mean it like that. I mean more or less, this can happen, as there is some sort of history in it. Because I was born with a little jaundice, or slight jaundice, from what my parents had told me. So all of a sudden there was that possibility that my kids would have it. Somewhat of a hereditary thing, I guess. So, but with that being said, what are your thoughts, Jared? What are some other things we should look out for as new parents or renew parents at that point?
There is so, and again, we don't mean to scare anybody, but for God's sakes, a lot can go wrong. And a lot of it can be detected while in the womb, while they do I think it's a weekly after the third trimester or some crap like that, that they do the heart rate, they do the circumference of the head, they do the measurements of the spine and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that stuff you can measure before they come out, but the jaundice you don't know until they come out. Same with like spina bifida or something else. I know that, like you got a phone call that they might do a blood transfusion while you're at home with the kids. Well, when Cora was born, Eleanor was easy. She had nothing wrong with her. She cried maybe 2 minutes after coming out. Wasn't, right away, but she was just quiet. She was quiet, and then it just changed from there. And then she became loud, and to this day, it's still just the volume is always turned up. But anyway,
I love it.
You love it. Come over.
No, I'm good. I've got a household.
She doesn't know how to just talk normally. It's always yelling. It's just crazy. But anyway, Cora, I got a phone call late at night, and apparently they had seen something that could be spina bifida. And they were looking into it and monitoring her for, I don't know exactly what they saw, because obviously as a parent, you're not listening to what the doctor's saying. You're focused on, is my child okay?
Or is my child going to be okay?
Exactly. I don't give a shit what mumbo jumbo jargon you're saying to me. I don't care. Is my child going to be okay? Are they going to be, healthy for the rest of their life? And it ended up just being some fluke that oh, no, no, don't worry about it. But it's just the cord around. I don't want to get so graphic here, but a pregnancy isn't always gonna end up perfect.
Nope, never will.
It that way.
Very interesting. I'm looking at some pictures of spina bifida right now. Definitely interesting, knowing that there's kind of like a gap, it's a neural tube defect. It kind of looks like there's a missing part of the spine, essentially. So, very, very interesting. I didn't know there was like a... Yeah. Look it up. It's very interesting. There can be a vertebrae defect, spinal cord and nerves, spinal fluid, whatnot. It's kind of like a big gap. I wouldn't say it's necessarily none of these pictures are very graphical, but for some fair warning, it may not be something you really want to look into. But no, it's definitely a big concern. So, it's just, it can happen anywhere along the spine. May not close all the way. Just kind of looking off of what CDC is saying. Basically right there and then. So,
but other issues, just basic issues, they might not latch right away to,
yes.
And you also, a mother might also not be producing enough milk. So there's just a ton of factors that we can get into. And I'm not a doctor. I've only had 2 babies, and nothing was seriously wrong with them. So the only thing that Eleanor progressed, and her hips didn't grow, so she had a little bit of hip dysplasia. So she had to wear a brace for like 6 months straight.
Oh wow, that's huge. I mean, she's grown it now, so her hips are good now.
Yeah.
Or as good as they can be.
They still need to monitor her when she's, in her teenage years.
Right.
Especially if she wants to try out in sports. Then she really has to have an x-ray done.
Yeah.
But she's walking fine. She runs fine.
So not, as of right now, her motor skills and everything, or her movements are good.
They were a bit delayed, but as of now, they're fine. Yes.
Yeah. Nope, and it's a very good thing to bring up too. People may call these defects. They can be, but they're definitely something you can get through. So it's never a bad thing at all. It's scary though.
It is.
It's very scary because if you get concerned about delays, for your child, how bad is this going to delay my child's development or whatnot? But that's what doctors are here for as well. They're here to actually help you out, make sure your child is going to still develop, but at the same time develop as best they can. And they may not reduce or eliminate those delays, but they are definitely going to reduce the amount of delay that could happen. So kudos to the doctors out there and everything. Kudos to pediatricians and whatnot. Speaking of which, my Eleonora is 6 months old, so it's a huge thing. She had her checkup today. Everything seems good. So
shots.
Yep, she's doing well from what I see on the charts. But yeah, no, there's some. What else is there? I know there's so many different concerns out there. We were talking about bowel movements. You do have to watch the poop. You have to watch the poop. And that comes with the idea of feeding them. I know. They may, like you said, they may not always latch on. Sometimes it's nice to actually get like a lactation consultant as well to help out, or just view to make sure that they are latching on and actually getting enough at the time. So just be mindful of that. Lactation consultants are always. I can't say always readily available, because that's not necessarily true. But they
Right.
will definitely, they're definitely willing to help you out in the first few hours or however long it may be. So if you are struggling, that's what they're there for. They will, when you're first in the hospital or when you're in the hospital, they will come visit you to make sure everything's good. Um, so, I mean, lactation is going to be one of those things that helps your child get through, again, the jaundice side of things. Because that means, when they're bringing in their nutrients from the breast milk and everything, or whatnot, or even making sure if you can't breastfeed, that they're getting their formula. They're getting the essential amount of formula. I think it's like 1 ounce or 10 milliliters or something like that. For every I don't remember how it breaks down, but those tiny formula bottles have like I think 5 ounces or something like that. So
Yeah, something like that.
it's not a lot, but to a only a couple hour old child, it's a lot. But no, they definitely have those things. So bowel movements are huge as well. The thing to keep a note on, it really is. Even like my wife and I have a hard time keeping track of this, or making sure our child is pooping on a somewhat regular basis. But if a child isn't pooping every, I would say 48 hours, that can be an alarm. They need to at least poop. Your best goal is to have them at least poop once a day. That means their bowels are functioning properly.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing here is pooping at least every 48 hours, especially for children that are under, I think it was like under 2 or something like that. So make sure that they do go through their poops, or have their bowel movements on a consistent basis. It'll just be good to know, or poop multiple times a day that you're going to remember. That way you don't have to necessarily get concerned if they're pooping or not throughout a
I
day
remember
or
we had
whatnot.
to count the number of times that the girls either pooped or peed, like within the first couple weeks of them coming home.
Yeah, I don't remember necessarily doing that. I know like daycares, they will have a tracker for pooping and peeing while they're there, and that's really just to make sure that your child is doing their job,
Yeah.
and staying healthy. So blockage is never a good thing, or having to go in for that. I'm pretty sure is never a good thing. Never had to go through that. At least not with an infant. So, a 5-year-old is a little different of a story, where he's been blocked and we've done an enema.
Oh, it's gotten that bad, huh?
It has gotten that bad, but we've also been able to do. At that point, we did an enema once, but after that, it was always just he started getting blocked or constipated badly. We've just been doing laxative for him a laxative until we know he's on a regular schedule again at that point. So,
Yeah.
developments that happen throughout life. Hopefully he gets through it where he's not, or he's able to just poop on a regular or more consistent basis than whatever it may be. So, no, make sure that again you still want to make sure they're urinating frequently, their bowel movements are regular, and whatnot, because that can be something you may want to take them in for if they're not having regular movements.
Correct.
Or releasing their excrement and whatnot on a consistent basis. So, those I would say are the very crucial things in the beginning to watch out for health wise. There's always going to be more out there, especially I've never experienced like a premature birth. So or any of those, I apologize. I can't necessarily connect on those very early births. I do know some people that have gone through it, and I would love to hear more of those stories at the same time. That way,
I can get somebody on for that.
I could probably do that too. I know some people that have gone through some crazy stories or crazy scenarios as well. Um, Two of my friends' kids actually very premature, and then I've got a friend's friend who had a premature birth. Um, and just what they go through is so it's like hell. Honestly, I feel like they go through hell. Um, and I can't imagine what you really go through. Um, but I also say that the child develops development is still somewhat similar to a full term baby. Um,
Yeah.
Somewhat, and I mean, they grow. They still have to
The
have
first couple
their
weeks are the most
yeah
important.
those yeah exactly. So anything I would say like I mean I've known people that have had 26-week old children or whatnot. So um, that's when they were born. um, it's very those first months or so are very critical for development and whatnot. And I believe it's very scary. I feel bad when things don't go well. Um, I mean, it's just a story can't I sympathize with because of having children. I'd be like, I would never wish that up on anybody at all. So, I would definitely love to speak more about premature births, but I can't. I don't have the experience. So, um, if you would like, obviously reach out to us, and if you want to be a guest on the show and talk about it, that would be cool. I'd love to have
Yeah, it
somebody
would be
on like
cool.
that. Or just share your experience of what it's like and what you're always looking out for. As far as development afterwards, or once they start getting on the regular, I guess, development, uh, you know, I would say it turns out to be the same, where you're making sure that the child is doing the same thing here. In regards to feeding, sleeping, all certain activities, right? Always something you want to pay attention to. So, um, you know, talking about uh, baby development, are you part of any like infant or children club slash articles, like web articles or anything like that? No.
No.
Okay. So Sam had signed up, and she's done this with like Arlo, because she actually sends me things um, about Arlo and where kind of or not about Arlo, but like where our 5-year-old is at or what's going on with their development, kind of so to speak. It's just a generic thing. Here's what's going on with the child and this, at their age in this time frame, kind of like what they may be doing or why they're doing it, right? So somewhere along the way, their brain development or their motor skills, things of that nature. Um, we definitely get a lot of those for like every month for Eleonora, uh, because it being a monthly update. So like we've Sam will be sending me one here shortly, if not already, about 6 months and what to look out for here. Um, or what's going on with our 6-month-old. But from 5 months, it was kind of like do some distractions, or like she might get some weekly things, like saying, "Here's your weekly thing to look out for within your 5-month-old baby." They're pretty neat actually, like finding ways to distract them, or they may, if they're fussy, do some sort of distraction to get them away from the fussiness or the crying. Um, because they might just be fussing to fuss, not necessarily. Again, they don't know why they're fussy, but it's just probably something else. So if you can make them laugh or do something that'll catch their attention and get them to stop, you can certainly do that. Um, at one point there was your baby is now laughing. Encourage laughing. Do things that'll make them laugh, because that helps them develop a sense of humor. So I would recommend trying to find something like that as well
Mm-hmm.
for parents that are becoming new parents again, or those that are looking to become parents for the first time, do sign up for some of those, or read a book like What to Expect in the first, infancy, or what may be out there. I've never read the books necessarily, but those can certainly help you. That way, you're somewhat prepared for your child, but may not always be. So, and you said you haven't done any of those articles or aware of them.
No.
So, yeah.
Didn't
I
even
would
know
say
it was an option.
they're pretty neat. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to look at them now, but usually it's something that you might get it from like an app as well. If you ever track, like Sam was a big fan of tracking her pregnancies as well.
Yeah, Natalie did that.
Yeah, so even then when Sam was pregnant with the children, she would track it, and it would say, here's where, here's the size of your child, and in the womb and everything. It kind of just carried on through that too. I think there's one app or so that just keeps carrying on and keeps updating you on the child throughout their lifespan as well. So, or at least within the first few years. But I mean, those are pretty cool. So sign up for them. Download the app on your phone or whatever. It can be very, very useful to know what to expect throughout the time. You don't necessarily have to do it, Jared, but giving new parents a heads up.
Everybody else can. I'm not.
Yeah, I would recommend it. So, again, don't have to take it, but if you're looking for something to help you out, find an app, a pregnancy app or whatnot. Join. You and your wife can collaborate on that, or I think it'd be a smart idea. I did it at one point, so it made it easy. What else, Jared? What else do you want to talk about? Maybe we may, there's definitely a lot to cover. So I'll be honest, I don't think we get one episode of this, guys. I think it might be a two-parter. Because there's definitely a lot you can talk about with this type of thing. So, what else do you want to talk about?
We talked about lactation. We talked about feeding. There are options for you and your baby if you can't produce enough milk. Unfortunately, you're going to have to go with the insanely expensive formula. But hopefully you don't have to do that, because trust me, it is a paycheck sucker. But I'm sure there's some help out there for families that qualify.
There certainly is. I would recommend taking a look at it as well, especially with newborns, and they do have certain setups. Actually, I'm part of, like Sam and I are part of it. So it's WIC here in Wisconsin, really just providing those items for children. The formula, the milk, which I think is a little early, but based on everything that's going on, it's also just household items for ourselves, groceries, whatnot. So like eggs, milk, loaf of bread, cheese, things like that. Those types of lists, even being veggies or fruits and everything. So pretty neat. It definitely helps you out when you have like an infant or a young child that definitely needs it or could use it. So baby food, that's always fun. Maybe that, we did talk a little bit about just infancy food in the young ages, but as they grow older, such as 6 months, you're probably going to start developing or trying, leaning them towards some of the foods that you're starting to eat, but they're not necessarily whole or solid foods. They're more like the liquid solid, where they can swallow it still. So Allie has actually started doing that a little more here. And we're slowly trying different types of foods, right? Do you remember, Jared, when you started that with your girls? Um, what you may have started with first?
Butternut squash. Natalie made all her own baby food pureed in our Ninja. Uh, so that was the first. I don't know exactly the timing of it though. 6 months sounds about right. And I think it just depends on your baby too. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should just stick with 6 months. But no, it was a lot of butternut squash because the girls loved it. Now they hate it. Of course, that's
Go
how it
figure,
works. But we did broccoli too, and they love broccoli now. So
Oh, nice. I mean, we'll see how it all goes out. I know we've done. So it's also recommended. I mean, if you're not sure, uh, talk to your provider, your pediatrician. They're more than willing to help you out, kind of determine like a timeline of when you should start trying such foods. Most of the time, though, these foods that like these solid foods that you're trying and doing spoon feeding with, they are the supported sitting. I mean, okay, if you're making your own, like you said, Jared, if Natalie was doing her own butternut squash puree, whatnot, it's still geared towards the sitter or the supported sitting. So where you and I, we can sit properly without any type of support, right? Well, your infant is going to need maybe some sort of high chair to help them sit up, or some sort of aid that keeps them up rather than falling over, falling down, right? I mean, they have all these types of foods, so they don't, I guess if they do fall over for some reason, they don't choke on it. They're able just to swallow it. I mean, it's never a fun experience when your child chokes. Speaking of which, hopefully you know how to take care of a choking child. It's never a fun thing. It's not something you would ever expect to happen, but when you're dealing with an infant or a toddler that gets something in their mouth or gets it stuck in their esophagus or their throat, it would be recommended to know how to take care of it. Or know how to do the Heimlich on them. So maybe take a course, brief course about that. I would say it's not brief. It's like it can be a full day of training. Well, it basically is a full day of training. So, yeah. So with back to the feeding idea though, the supporting sitting foods, or those puree type foods, you want to usually do one type of food a day, or in a period of time, because you don't want to overdo it and you want to keep track of what they're eating, because let's say all of a sudden they're allergic to something, but yet you fed them in multiple
like
sittings. Let's say
things.
if you fed in one sitting, you fed them peas, beans, broccoli, squash, sweet potatoes, and they break out. Do you have any idea what you fed them that caused their breakout? Because breakouts, believe it or not, anaphylaxis or any type of food allergy can happen at any time. It doesn't happen right away. Your body will react. It can react minutes after. So if you were to do that, and you realize that your child is now breaking out in hives, for example, do you remember how long ago it was? Probably not. Or do you know if let's say you fed them the peas, they were fine, you moved on to the green beans, you fed that to them, well, all of a sudden now you have two foods in their system. They could have broken out to the green beans right there and then, or the peas could have caused the breakout. You don't know. So, in a specific, you can try, and this is what we've done. For one meal, we've done like one thing, but then the next meal we've done another. So we may do a fruit for the first meal, but then we do a vegetable for the second meal. So there's plenty of time between those, right? Because you're doing like an hour's span.
Yeah.
That food by then you would know if they have a reaction to it. So I mean, you could stick with one food for a day at a time, or you can do maybe a fruit, a vegetable throughout the day, but make sure you're not doing it in one sitting. That way, you are able to actually know if your baby has any type of reaction to it. And I'm not talking about those reactions where they don't like it, because you're gonna have that. I don't want to say I guarantee that all infants are going to have a bad reaction to like peas or green beans or those types of food, but Allie, for example, she has taken a liking to sweet potatoes, bananas. Yes, she has taken a liking to the butternut squash. I'm sure it's got a little bit of a sweet taste to it. But it's really those sweeter flavors that she really enjoys, whereas the peas and the beans, they have a bland flavor, I guess. And she's just like, So.
You mean you haven't tried the butternut squash?
I've done it once.
Okay.
Like, if I get it on my hands or whatever when I'm feeding her, I will lick it rather than wipe it off. So, it's just one of those things. They're not bad. I'm not saying any of them are bad. If I get the peas on my hand, I still lick the peas off my finger. It's just basically pureed peas at that point. Very fine, refined peas or green beans, so it's not bad. I'm not a fan of squash in general, but it doesn't mean I'll still lick it because it's a very small amount in my body at that point. So, yeah, I recommend that. There are definitely cereals that do dissolve. I mean, those like little puff cereals that you can get for your children as well. Those can still get expensive. Really kind of do what's within your budget, but at the same time necessary for your child. But also still take your time with it. Don't overdo it with them.
Yeah.
And not to mention, you still need to keep that breast milk or formula in their diet as well, so they can keep drinking. Just because you switch them over to solid type foods does not mean you remove the fluid, like breast milk or formula. They still need that as well. It provides some dietary supplements in their life.
Yeah, and new parents, helpful hint on those cereals, they do have the age you're supposed to feed them at, as well as the supported sitter, not supported sitter, and so on and so on and so on. All those Gerber products have that on there.
It'll be at the very top of the container too. And it kind of says like 0 to some months or whatever. It'll say like supporting sitting first stage, supporting sitting second stage, or things like that as well. I will again let you know as we're slowly getting there. But even on, not necessarily on the cereals, but on the actual like puree foods as well, it says it as well. Because eventually, my baby girl is going to be getting into the meat side of things, but that's probably going to be after, between, once she's actually being able to sit up on her own without much support. And then there's going to be the combination. So like, I think it's just kind of pulling one out. I think it's ham and carrots or something like that. There's going to be the combinations of food, or turkey and carrots, things of that nature. But we'll see how that all turns out too with her. But for now, she's doing very well, for those that you would like to know. But yes, Jared's definitely right. Take a look at those products. If you're questioning it or using, again, his tip, take a look at the top of the carton. It'll show you what you need to, what you should be looking for as well. Or if you want to make your own, definitely do that. I would probably look up how to do it though. That way you're probably just really, really doing a fine blend of it or some sort of mixing. But definitely give it a shot. So, with that being said though, I know it seemed like Jared was struggling to laugh in the beginning of this episode, or he said he was full of giggles before. To be honest, there's again a lot to take in. So I don't want to go too much further into anything else here for the night, but let's talk some jokes because Jared needs a good laugh before Thursday, or hopefully I can make him laugh. And again, I've been able to find some things that are related to infants or baby stuff. So I'm hoping some of these are good. I hope you can laugh at these. But we'll see. I think this one you might get because I loved it. What do you call a group of baby soldiers?
Infantry.
An infantry. Yeah. An infantry. Yeah.
I think that was on Home Improvement.
Probably.
Something.
It's been a while. How did the baby tell her mom she had a wet diaper?
How?
She sent her a P-mail.
Oh, okay.
Oh God, here. Hold on. What do you do with a fussy baby?
What?
You pacify it. Did you hear about the lady who traveled to the ocean to have her baby?
No.
She needed a C-section. Oh my God. How did it work out for the lady who had a C-section?
How?
She gave birth to a bouncing baby boy.
Boy. Booey.
I think we'll do one more. I like. Oh, some of these have been actually good to me, at least. Mom, why is there a strange baby in the crib? Dad, you told me to change the baby. All right. Well, guys, again, to address what you should always be looking out for your infant's health, making sure they urinate, regular bowel movements, any health concerns you may have that may be hereditary. Always try to plan those ahead. As Jared mentioned, or as I mentioned, jaundice is one thing. Even the hip dysplasia or the spina. Oh my God, I can't even say it now.
Spina bifida.
Spina bifida. Thank you. I had the first part right, and then I just didn't want to slide it to the second half. But spina bifida. Just those health concerns. Some of those things you can't necessarily see until they happen, or they come up as a concern. Others you can kind of pre-plan for or bring to attention if you already know what to look for. If you know your family's history, make sure you bring that up to your doctors. Or if you've had history in the past. Another scary example here briefly. Sam, after giving birth to Cain, she had other... there was problems that had risen with Arlo, Nico, and Eleonora, which were very closely monitored, which had to do with the blood, like her blood type. Which could cause problems for the babies. So they had to keep levels or track of her blood levels and the antibodies or antigens in her body, which could have caused which would have attacked like baby's blood and everything. So we know certainly knew it came from after having Cain or around the time of having Cain, and there was always just concerns. Eleanor was actually a very scary one at that point, but eventually everything kind of leveled out. So just some of those other things to keep track of. Again, just watch out for the feeding. Keep in mind you're not overdoing it or trying multiple things in like one sitting. Sign up for some of those infant clubs. apps, pregnancy apps out there to help you really get through it. They will definitely, I would say, they can be very enlightening. Jared, anything else you want to add?
Love those little bundles of joy.
Love
Just
'em.
be cautious, but not too cautious. Love
They
them
grow up too
and
fast.
monitor. Make sure they're healthy, strong, and active. Yeah.
Yep.
We can get into sleeping stuff later because
We will
yeah.
most certainly have another episode here of infants. Again, there's a lot to cover, and maybe we can have a guest that'll be willing to talk about like premature, if they, a guest that had a premature child, and kind of talk about their experience with that, to help those that might have that or somewhat of a relatable experience as well, or maybe address just some of those concerns. But guys, again, thank you for your time here this evening. Thank you for your time, I should say. We are on Spotify, YouTube, Google, Apple Podcast, TikTok for brief little hits, Facebook as well, Leashed Dads. You can even email us if you want to reach out or share stories, or your proud moments, whatnot there may be. Or if you have any jokes you want me to share, or us to share, or you want to come and be a guest, let us know. leashdads14@gmail.com, or reach out to us via Facebook. We'll be more than happy to get you on. But thank you again, Jared. As always, thank you for being that awesome host. Guys, we will see you next week.